Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight I have Kevin Malek and Jenifer Scelsi on tonight. I've had them on 2 times before. They are 2 of my favorite investigators I have on. My original scheduled guest was kind of a no-call, no-show, so thank you guys for filling in tonight. We're going to have a long World Wide Web of weird tonight, too, because I love discussing all these different topics with them. So we got a lot of stories, and we're going to discuss summer wind, too. These guys are from Northwest Paranormal Society, and we're going to be talking about that. I'll be with you in just 1 second. That was North Wisconsin Paranormal Society. Sorry.
Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society.
Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. Well, thank you guys. Like I said, we're going to have a long World Wide Web of weird tonight. Thank you for joining me on the show last minute. Like I said, I can talk to you guys about everything paranormal for hours on end. And some of the best conversations I've had on this show has been with you guys. So I'm super excited, especially to do the World Wide Web of weird tonight, which we're going to get into. We got a lot of stuff. Also, we're going to have Skype open line call-ins later tonight if you want to call in. If you got a paranormal story of your own or personal experience you want to talk about, you can call in later in the show after the World Wide Web of Weird, which I said is probably going to be a little bit longer than usual. And you call in by the Skype ID oojblandoo. Just add me to contacts, and after I tell you to go ahead and start calling in, you can call in then, and I'll add you to the show. And it's audio only, so nobody sees you. You can be anonymous if you don't want anybody to know who you are. Just tell us your first name. All right, Kevin and Jen, you guys ready to do some World Wide Web of weird?
Oh, yes.
All right, let's get this ball rolling. All right, on the World Wide Web of Weird, we got a lot of stuff that freaks me out, like a snake in a can of beans. If anybody knows me, I have a dreadful fear of snakes. So, yeah, if I open up, I don't like green beans as it is. If I opened it up and I found a snake head inside, I'd be pretty freaked out. This happened when it was posted on the Huffington Post. Let's see. This happened just recently. They've been posting this. It was going pretty viral. It was 1 day ago they posted a story. Woman loses appetite after finding snake's head in a can of green beans. I'm going to play the news story here from this really quick. Let me get the audio up.
Old Pro in the kitchen.
We're having turkey steaks and macaroni and cheese.
She prefers cooking for her tiniest family members.
And I love it because my grandkids think I'm a good cook.
But it was at a church youth function where she almost served up something not on the menu.
When I went to dish them out, thought it was a burnt bean. And lo and behold, it was a snake head.
Yep, a snake head in the middle of all those beans.
We just found the head, so we're like, oh, I wonder where the body is.
We reached out to Western Family.
Right.
We take lightly. We want to know what it is, and we will immediately research and do any level of correction we can. They're already gone from the shelves of several grocery stores in the area.
We're going to be doing butter.
Oh, my God.
She's not upset.
That was my biggest concern, that somebody else would get the body or something of the snake and not the snake head.
How the heck does that happen?
For her next dinner party.
We're having a family dinner on Sunday. Nobody responded to my text. I said, I promise I'm not going to.
Oh, God, that creeps me out. So yeah, can of green beans, and you're gonna find a severed snake head in it. So that just, I don't know. I cannot stand snakes. They freak me out, and I don't want to find them in my green beans. I showed this snake in the toilet video. I don't want to find them in my toilet, like Porky's too. Ugh. I cannot stand snakes. All right, so the next thing we got is let me get the video for this. Is speaking of another severed theme turning up, is severed feet. This story's been going on for since 2007, I believe. There's been severed feet showing up. I believe this is in Canada. Yeah. Where did of course my video disappears. Where did it go? Or did they take it away from me? Oh, here we go. All right. Yeah, shoes with severed feet. It's always it's not just feet; they're inside of a shoe. And this, like I said, this has been happening since 2007.
Well, hikers in British Columbia, Canada, found a dismembered foot inside of a running shoe while they were walking on a beach. The shocking discovery is not the first of its kind. In fact, over a dozen feet inside shoes have been found washed onto beaches on the West Coast since 2007, rather. RT correspondent Alex Mihailovich joins us now from Toronto to tell us what is going on here. Why have these discoveries been happening for all of these years? Do they have any clue as to how this is happening?
Well, this is pretty unbelievable. Like, just imagine taking a nice walk along the beach. This is Vancouver Island, a beautiful place to be, and you find a shoe with a foot in it. Now, the people that found it, of course, they were thinking it's a bit of a mystery. There's something in this shoe, and the coroner in the end said, yes, it is a human foot. I actually talked to the British Columbia Chief Coroner's Office, and what they said, the shoe was first marketed in 2013, and they're looking for somebody who went missing between 2013 to late 2015.
Somebody missing a foot.
So this is a correlation here. You have a running shoe, a New Balance running shoe, and this is when the person went missing. So why are they tracking it this way? Well, they've been actually in British Columbia, there have been 13 feet that they've found since 2007. And they've also found a couple of feet in Washington State as well as in Europe. Again, mystery. What's happening here? Is it aliens? Is it the Yakuza? People getting feet chopped off by serial killers? It is none of the above, believe it or not. What they're saying is that out of the 13 feet found, 10 have already been discovered and matched to people. Mostly no homicides, mostly suicides, and or people that were in accidents. One guy, for example, was on a boat. He fell off the boat, and this is what happens. Now, why are the feet severed? Well, when people decompose in the ocean, the first thing to go are feet and hands. And that's exactly what happened here. These feet fall off the body and they go to shore. So what the coroner was saying that this has nothing to do with anything suspicious. This is just sort of the natural case when you're looking at the ocean and if somebody dies within the ocean.
So nothing to see here. Just severed people. Move along.
And what they don't tell you is, there were 2 serial killers spotted by the state park today where the water is.
What?
No, it's like you're waiting for them to sit there and say, play like a crime show, and they're sitting there going, 1 foot was discovered in a lake today where 2 known serial killers hung out.
Well, that's what I first thought when I started seeing this. These post of this years ago about the severed foot and a shoe popping up on the same shore again, or in the near same area. I'm like, is there a serial killer with like a foot fetish, or an anti-foot fetish? He wants to keep the body but gets rid of the feet. But I also know it is true. Feet and a decomposing body in a shoe. The shoe weighs it down, and the foot just pops off.
How long does it take before all the muscles around the for all the muscles compose enough for that to happen?
That's a good question. I'm not a medical expert to tell you, but I've heard that the hands and the feet will fall off a decomposing body, especially in water. I'm sure it's quicker in water too, but it's still really weird, that these feet just show up on the shore. You're walking along and you find, hey, there's just a stray shoe with a foot in it. Oh,
he basically, he's like, well, it's not murder and it's not everything else we talked about. It's suicide and accidents. I can't say that indefinitely.
Yeah. It's like, move along, people. Nothing to see here. Just a severed foot.
What they didn't mention too was another thing: sharks.
True. Well, I don't know. Up there, would there be sharks? And northwest shores of the Pacific. Is that too cold for sharks?
No,
I think sharks can. Well, look at the Greenland shark.
Well, true.
Greenland shark can swim in pretty cold waters.
But who goes swimming with their shoes?
Well, that's the thing. That's why, again, I mean, accident, okay, suicide, okay, because people commit suicide with their shoes on, and people have accidents with their shoes on. But I mean, for him just to say this is not from a murder, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, for any serial killers out there who have a foot fetish and like to chop off feet and throw them in the water, well, guess what? You're scot free.
Right. No evidence here. I mean.
All right. This next one I don't have a video for, but I find the story interesting. Bizarre claim: UN in talks of stranded extraterrestrial seeking aid of Hillary Clinton. Not even president yet, man. You're barking up the wrong tree. The United Nations has communicated with someone who's claiming to be a being from another planet stranded on Earth. The UN correspondence provided was a reply, Miss McFadden, to a query entitled, "Did the UN have resettlement process and protection policies about extraterrestrial beings?" You know, that's an interesting question. I mean, if they did end up here, like, what was that, Alien Nation? You remember that movie and TV show? You know, what are we going to do with them, or how that's going to go? Or District 9, you know. You know, what do we do with stranded aliens? Her reply said, "Dear Moge Ban Ki-moon," that's the alien, "the Secretary General is not considered the leader of Earth." Thank God. It explained what involvement the UN had previously had in the UFO phenomenon, and added, "The UN Office of Outer Space Affairs may also be of use to you." Moge, who also claimed to have a Twitter account, said it could get no response. I got to look him up on Twitter. Said he could get no response from UNOOSA and urged MUFON to help. But in what could be interpreted as a veiled threat for not helping, it added, "We get the important information that the leader of us needs, so they have to find us and bring us back." Okay. If they can get us when they reach here, I'm not sure what the aftermath will be. So kind of a veiled threat, I guess, from the alien. MUFON told Express.co.uk would be looking into the reports. A source within the UFO disclosure movement who campaigns for the release of confidential files on the subject from all world governments said he believed as a fellow campaigner posing as an alien, the belief it may get them information from the UN or the governments on UFO files. The source said they seem to be quite knowledgeable, and there is a reference to Hillary Clinton, but it's a strange idea, and I'm not sure it will work. So Moge out there is stranded and wants to phone home or get relocated or have some protection. Have you heard, Kevin, for people that know, Kevin's a member of MUFON. Have you heard anything about this? No, yeah. I wonder how true the story is, but also, like you said, it could be somebody trying to get files, but it's a weird way to do it.
Plus it's out of my district too, so that would have would never come across my table. If it happened in Wisconsin, that'd be different.
True. But it is an interesting question posed, though. What happens to an actual somebody who, if an alien landed here, let's say one alien crashed, and he's like, "I'm stranded, help me." What would our response be? What would we do? My vehicle broke down. Call AAA for him, or I don't know. This next one is a update on a story I told last week on a bizarre dragon-like sea creature discovered on a New Zealand beach. There's an explanation for it. I'll put so people can remember what it was. Let me pull up the video that I played last week. Hopefully, there we go. All right. So, last week I showed this. A New Zealand woman had a whale of a time Tuesday after she ran into a strange creature on a local beach. Mariah Lombard discovered the creature's remains bobbing on the surface at Watir Beach. It's quite a bit like I think a dragon should look like. It was just a head and a tail, or a spine, she told Stuff News. Lombard took a photo of the bizarre animal and sent it into the museum in New Zealand, Te Papa Tangaria, man, really throw me for a loop on these words, in hopes of having it identified. Well, they did. They did identify it. The museum responded quickly via Twitter, saying the skeleton didn't belong to a sea monster or a dragon or even an eel. Lombard apparently photographed the skull and vertebrae of a smooth skate. Never heard of that before. A type of dorsal ventrally flattened fish found in the Indian Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. Skates look similar to stingrays, but lay eggs, raise bear fish live, according to the Florida Museum of Natural History. Skates also tend to have a prominent dorsal fin, which is typically absent and greatly reduces in rays. I don't have a picture of what a skate looks like. I should have got that up, but it looks like almost like a stingray, basically. And they're saying this is just, it's backbone and the inner structure of it. That makes sense. But if I find something and I play it on the show and I find an update on, either more truth to it or it's bogus, I will try to play it again on the show. So I don't know if you guys saw that. You guys are you admins for the Facebook page, the Lake Monsters?
Lake Monstrosities.
Lake Monstrosities on Facebook. So I thought you guys be interested in that one. Another sea monster one too. Sorry, a newer one here. Let me find the video of that. It should be on here. Mysterious sea creature washes ashore in Australia. I think you might have posted. I don't know if you posted this, Kevin. Somebody did. Let me show this one.
A bizarre, prehistoric-looking creature has washed up on the shores of an Australian lake, baffling locals as to what it might be. Ethan Tipper found the massive beast at Lake Macquarie in New South Wales and took photographs in the hope of identifying it later. The images have since been uploaded to the internet, where opinion is divided as to whether it is a pike eel, a hairtail, or simply the result of creative photoshopping. The massive animal appears to have razor-sharp teeth, a long, scaly body, and fish-like eyes. Its lack of legs give it a fish-like appearance, and its streamlined shape has been compared to a dolphin. But one fish expert is confident he has now identified the creature as a pike eel, which is native to the local area. He says the creature is likely to have been caught by a local fisherman who discarded it when he realized its size. This is the first time I have ever seen one of them in the flesh, he told Daily Mail Australia. I suspect it was caught and discarded by fishermen who got more than they bargained for when they tried to reel it in, he added. Pike eels are known to grow up to 1.8 meters in length and have large, powerful jaws. They are considered something of a delicacy in Southeast Asia
gross.
and are eaten widely.
What is it? They always say something's a delicacy and it probably tastes really freaking nasty. And again, another thing I have a great fear of is the water and creatures in the water.
Dark, severed feet, and now this.
Yeah. I can handle the severed feet probably, but any kind of eel-like creature or shark in the water, I was traumatized by Jaws as a kid, and always scared of the water. My mom might be watching tonight; she can attest to that. I've always been very fearful of the water, and I think Jaws did. I was even scared of pools because of Jaws, but man, and then snakes on top of it. So combine it with like a snake eel-like creature in the water, you've just reached my deepest fears. And I'm not going in for a swim.
Yeah. Most everybody on Lake Monstrosities thinks it's a pike eel.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing, but it's been showing up a lot on Facebook, so I thought I'd play that and the explanation for it. It's
right.
It's still creepy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I say it's creepy as hell looking.
It is. I mean, like these pipe eagles or fish. These things look like sea serpents. They kind of got that look like it's gonna eat you up. How big do they get? I could see why when you look at the old maps of the sea, they have them drawings of the weird dragon looking sea serpent things. They look just like this, and I can see where it comes from.
You wonder why sailors ever ventured out into the dang ocean when somebody comes back with these drawings of these monstrous creatures and they're like, you want to hitch a ride on our boat and go out to have an adventure on the ocean? Hell no.
Right.
Draw a big sea serpent on your maps. Nope. It's lucky they ever discovered America, right? All right. So this next one's not paranormal, but this kind of runs along the lines of conspiracy. And I can talk to Kevin. I can talk to you about conspiracy stuff forever. But and I'm going to butcher his name, even though it's a very famous name. Is of course everybody's talking about Justice Anton Scalia, Supreme Court justice who died. Detectives question lack of autopsy in Scalia's death. Veteran homicide investigators in New York and Washington, D.C. on Monday questioned the way local and federal authorities in Texas handled the death of Supreme Court Justice Anton Scalia. It's not unreasonable to ask for an autopsy in this case, particularly knowing who he is, retired Brooklyn homicide detective Patricia Tufo told the Post. He's not at home. There are no witnesses to his death, and there was no reported explanation for why a pillow is over his head, Tufo said. So I think under the circumstances, it's not unreasonable to request an autopsy. Despite that fact, he has existing ailments and the fact that he was almost 80 years old, you want to be sure that it's not something other than natural causes. Bill Ritchie, a retired deputy chief and former head of the criminal investigations for the DC police, said he was dumbstruck when he learned that no autopsy was performed. I took a look at the report and I almost fell out of my chair, Ritchie told the Post from his home in Maryland. I used to be an instructor in the homicide school. Every death investigation you are handling, you consider it a homicide until the investigation proves otherwise, Ritchie said. How do you know the person wasn't smothered? How do you know it's not a homicide until you conduct an investigation? You have to do your job. Once you go through the process, you can conclude that it's a naturally occurring death. Paseo County Judge Cinderella Guerra said she declared Scalia's death via telephone based on what cops and marshals at the scene told her, that there was no signs of foul play. How in the world can the Texas judge, not even seeing the body, say that it's a heart attack, Ritchie wondered. A U.S. Marshal can't tell you. You need a medical professional. If this was Joe Blow, you'd say, okay, 79 years of age, health problems, maybe natural causes, but this is a sitting justice of the Supreme Court. Guevara also spoke by phone with Scalia's physician, who told her Scalia had several chronic medical conditions and had gone to the doctor last week for a shoulder problem, reports say. Scalia's family did not want the autopsy, she added. And that would be the final outcome in that. I mean, they could do an autopsy. If the family didn't want it, they could still do an autopsy. They'd say, well, we have suspicion, we're going to do an autopsy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Supreme Court justice, it should just be protocol or routine, you know, instead of just saying, yeah, he died in his sleep. Again, nothing to see here.
Right, go along.
No autopsy needed. When, you know, and the thing is, here, this guy is like, he's like the swing vote, you know, he's the guy that is keeping a lot of their madness from happening, you know. Of course, now Obama's going to put in somebody, some New World Order lackey who is, you know, now they got the votes they need to pass all kinds of crazy laws.
Now, what I read on this law-wise, and I'm not an expert at all, but what I was trying to understand about it, he where he's at in his term of presidency, he can assign a temporary position. But the Republicans will fight him tooth and nail on that.
Some kind of vote. It's got to go. Yeah, it's not just like you can sign someone that's that. I mean, they have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a lifetime position, but because he's towards the end of his term, I guess the way I'm understanding it, he's not going to be he's not going to be the one appointing a Supreme Court justice. But there's some rulings coming up, and he can appoint a temporary. Could make a big impact on some of these rulings coming up. So I don't know. I get into the conspiracy stuff, but I don't try to be the, you know, doomsayer or anything, or look too deep into stuff. I try to just look at it broadly and try to see what facts seem prevalent. I don't want to say he was murdered, you know, but it's suspicious to me. It's very suspicious.
I mean, intelligent men would say, you know, we should do an autopsy just so nobody claims that there was an issue, because he's so famous and because he's the guy who had the swing vote. I mean, we were talking earlier in Ultimate Conspiracies that, you know, I'm surprised we didn't call this. I mean, you know, being that, you know, he has stopped so many things from going through. You know, he was a conservative. He was for the conservative America.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And now he's not there no more. And now whoever they put in, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's highly suspicious. And like you made a great point there. If you wanted to just dissolve that suspicion, you would think they would have just done it. Just, you know, it's such a high thing, and so many people might be suspicious. They would have just done the autopsy and tried to, you know, show people, hey, listen, we vetted this, we looked. There's nothing suspicious here.
Did they burn the body yet?
Oh, he was cremated.
See, there you go. I mean, come on, really?
I think the thing that stuck out about me with it was the whole they just happened to find a pillow on his face.
And let's talk about
I mean, maybe a family. I will look at it as, like I said, I try to be reasonable in these things. Maybe a family member was just he passed away, you put a blanket over somebody's head. Maybe someone just said, "Oh, let's put the pillow over his head." That's maybe not, in distress, not thinking. I don't know. That looks so suspicious of somebody who's just like, "Well, let's put a pillow over his head, just so nobody has to see, his body or whatever." Not a good idea. Not a good idea. It puts a lot of suspicion if that's what happened, but it's super suspicious to me, and only time will tell to see what happens and what comes out of this. Now, you mentioned, we were talking before the show, you said Obama didn't even go to the funeral.
Right. The first president ever not to go to a Supreme Court justice's funeral.
And I'm not trying to get too political on here. If anybody knows me, I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I'm libertarian at heart. And I don't like any of the rats in this presidential race. I call it the rat race. And if anybody's offended by that, I'm sorry. That's just me. I don't like anybody. Maybe it's my distrustful paranoia. I don't know. I don't like anybody for a lot of different reasons, for all of them. But Obama has done nothing but insult so many people. And I'm not trying to. I'm not in for the demonizing that people do. I don't try to get into that, but he has insulted so many people in so many ways, like this, not showing up to his funeral. That's an insult to me. This guy was a Supreme Court justice, and you don't go to you're the first president never to go to his funeral. You're really going to make that statement? I know you don't have to run for office anymore, but don't be a jerk. Right. You might not agree with him, but you have to respect his life and respect what the position and what he did. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Obama, but don't take that as I'm a fan of any of the Republicans either.
Well, it's just crazy town. I mean, the stuff that this administration has been getting away with and doing, like there's like 20 things on the table, any one of which is equally as bad as Whitewater, if not worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, my other thing is people are like touting, well, now they're going to go after our guns and they're going to, try to do something. No, you know what this is about? If this was a conspiracy or if it had anything to do, it's about the power of the executive office. Scelsi, he was definitely somebody who was a blocker for a lot of what Obama wanted to do with executive orders.
He was the
Constitution.
Field goals or whatever.
Yeah. So that's what I see. The executive office, if anything, will get more powerful. Even if the Republicans get in, they'll put somebody in that's going to make sure that they can write off an executive order and give that branch more power than it already has. So I'm very suspicious of it. Time will tell. That's what I'll say on that, what will happen. All right. So where can I work at a retail store? And this next story I got. I met a guy who worked for NASA as a customer in a store. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I'm not going to say his name, but he works for NASA, and I will never forget the conversation. I'm meeting this guy and getting to know him just as a customer. We started talking about. So when he told me he worked for NASA, because he had a NASA cap, and I'm like, "Oh, I love your cap." He's like, "Well, I actually do work for NASA." I was like, "Oh my God," because when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I'm totally, even though I think NASA is covering up a bunch of stuff, and they're screwing the pooch on many things, I'm still, in love with NASA, love with the space program and everything. What he said to me that frightened me? He goes, we're talking about things, and he brought up, he goes, what concerns me is the asteroid Apophis that's supposed to come near the Earth in 2036. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He says, if there's anything to worry about, that I would be worried about. Well, get this. This article came out on the February 13th on Yahoo News. Russia aims to point ICBMs at the asteroid Apophis in 2036. Russian scientists are planning to tweak their ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, to target near-Earth objects, according to a report by the news agency TASS. The news came from the Sabbat said, no way I'm going to be able to say whatever that some of these words. The leading researcher at the McCabe Rocket Design Bureau. The projectiles could be aimed at meteorites measuring 20 to 50 meters in size. A meteorite in a chunk of debris that can originate from a sun-orbiting asteroid and survive the trip through the atmosphere to reach Earth's surface. Scientists plan to test their missiles on the asteroid 99942 Apophis, which Satgravi believes may pass dangerously close to Earth in 2036. There is a general consensus as to this expected close encounter, though NASA has effectively ruled this possibility of an impact. The lead scientist explains the reasoning behind his team's work. Most rockets work on boiling fuel, Scelsi says. Their fueling begins 10 days before the launch, and therefore they are unfit for destroying meteorites similar to the Chelyabinsk meteorite in diameter. I don't know, sorry. Big Russian word there I can't say, which are detected several hours before coming close to Earth. For this purpose, intercontinental ballistic missiles can be used, which require this upgrade. Scelsi says that the modifying the solid fuel ICBMs requires several $1 million and permission from authorities. Yeah, you got to remember, shooting off rockets into space internationally can be a bad thing. These are weapons of war, after all. It's unclear whether or not this project will ever come to fruition, though the work has already begun. You know, I'm hands off to the Russians if they're trying to do this, because that's what we should be doing. You know, if anything, NASA should be working on is a way to have an emergency fail-safe, something to launch and or deflect a meteorite or asteroid we get little warning about coming. Right now, we'd be screwed. Because, you know, an asteroid or meteorite coming from the near sun, meaning we're blinded basically by our own sun from seeing it, we would have little time to prepare, little time to do anything about it. And if we're going to spend millions of dollars in NASA, I want to explore space. I want to go to Mars. Oh, yeah, I do. But I would think the number one priority is to defend Earth in a way from a meteorite or asteroid. We should be putting a ton of money in that because it's an eventuality. It's going to happen. You know, you can talk to any scientists out there. They said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
You know, I would think that if anything like that is going to hit Earth, I'm under the belief that, okay, we have our government and then we have a shadow government. And it's not just American shadow government, it's a worldwide shadow government.
Correct.
And all the trillions of dollars that are missing, plus trillions more funded into their secret space program, which is completely different than NASA. It's much larger, it's much deeper, and there are other races that we are working with, if you want to say working with, but you know, in other words, there are other races involved that whose technology is amazing. So if any kind of asteroid were to make it through not only our defenses and the Shadow Earth's defenses, and you know, any aliens that have invested interest in Earth, then it would have to be like either it was from God himself and nothing would stop it, or it was allowed to pass through, or maybe even
that's what I'm worried about.
You know, right? Because you know, that way again, like if you're gonna take over a planet with a world government, world army, world currency, world religion, it's easy. You know, it'd be easier to do it from a clean slate with a lot less people than it would be to have, you know, all these people and all this chaos going on, trying to control it all.
And all you have to ask is what is their device to, you know, knock out the world population? You hear it's going to be an asteroid. You hear it's going to be a virus. You hear it's going to be, you know, a fake alien invasion. You hear so many different theories of what it could be. It scares the crap out of me. It could be all the above. I mean, you know, but asteroid, you know, the whole idea of an asteroid or meteorite mathematically scares the crap out of me because it's an eventuality, and we are doing very little to anything about it. And if the human race gets wiped out and some other alien species, you know, in the future comes and finds the remains of us, I'll be like, what freaking idiots these people were. They had the capability. They had the capability to stop something like this, but we're too busy arguing over stupid crap to do anything about it. So like I said, you know, my hat's off to Russia for actually trying to do something. If that's what unless they're up to something else, you know,
Right.
Which is possible. All right. Next on the worldwide, I told you guys this is a long worldwide web of weird, but I love it. Baby Mothman startles woman in Illinois. This came out February 16th in Cryptozoology News. This was in wow, this is an American town, and I can't say it. Chanhanen, Illinois. Woman said she encountered an unidentified flying creature in northern Illinois. Carol, 58-year-old retired resident, Chanhanen resident, whose last name was omitted for anonymity purposes, said she came upon the oddity last Thursday as she let her dogs out in her backyard. I turned on our patio light and seen it, says Carol. We keep a heated bird bath on our patio. It is possible this thing was drinking before I scared it to flight. She claims the unknown animal flew away after about 20 seconds, but its flight pattern was straight up, she added, in an eerie, slowly butterfly movement, but straight up. Carol described what she saw as a 9-inch wide winged creature with gray fur. So this wasn't a big one. So it's just a baby. So she said a baby Mothman. It did not emit any sounds. Its wings were sort of like paper pages. It looked like a ghostly apparition is the best way she could describe it. The Illinoisan says that she has never seen anything like it, and she is sure it was not a bat or a moth. It was not a moth or a bat, she states. She explains how she couldn't get any sleep that night. I was so bothered by what I had seen. It played on my mind so much that what little sleep I did get contained a dream about this thing. The white witch moth, the largest known Lepidopteran, I don't know, that's some complicated name for moths, is endemic to South America, not epidemic. Although it has been seen in far north as Texas, but I mean, Illinois is way far away from there. But Carol's certain that what she saw last week was not a white witch moth. My personal feelings on what it was, possibly a very small Mothman creature. I would have believed it was a ghost or a witch moth, but not this time of the year, not in Illinois. Oh, well, not that time of year. I find that statement. It was the wrong time of year for a ghost. The witch moth, but not this time of year, she said. Plus the crazy flight pattern. The wings were very straight edge, but they fluttered when it moved. I did not see any eyes or face. It was blank. That's what's weird to me. It was like a blank face. She said that was strange too. No eyes, mouth, or antenna, she explains. The Mothman, a ghostly winged humanoid, was reportedly first seen November 12th, 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. There's the Richard Gere movie out there. There's the books by John Keel. A lot of stories. I don't know if there's any relation to the Mothman. She thought it was. She's probably seen the Mothman, and that's why she makes this association. But, I love these stories.
Well, Wisconsin had sightings too. Further back, I mean,
really?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact year, but southwestern Wisconsin had a couple sightings, and they were similar to the Mothman. They weren't identical, but it kind of, again, the winged creature. We talked about this before. Again, I feel like, when it comes to things like Mothman or the Jersey Devil,
right?
Okay, this particular thing didn't have the red glowing eyes, but when you only see one of them, and people don't see like Mothman in family units or family groups, or they don't see the Jersey Devil, and
it's just the one creature,
right? If there are things, I'm not saying this is a fallen angel or anything, but if it's either a cryptid, a true cryptid, or it's something demonic, I mean, it's got to be one or the other.
Well, I'm a big fan of the parallel universe idea, and I always loved my imagination runs wild, but with the idea of things that kind of slip into our universe and slip out. Right. It's the whole idea. Maybe that's why we've never found Bigfoot. Never found a body, because it's almost like they're ghosts in a way, but they're physically here. But I've always been fascinated by the Mothman story, not the movie, the book by John Keel, because just the weird synchronicities and the weird stuff that went on in that town and Point Pleasant. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, it is actually.
This next one, I just want to play really quick. This is where NASA found the abandoned alien base that was still in working order, and they stationed 1,000 U.S. Marines on this. This is kind of stuff you find posted on the web. Like I honestly am a big believer there's something on the moon. I go by the astronauts that have come out and said stuff Edgar Mitchell, for one, who passed away recently. So I'm not making fun of the idea of alien bases on the moon, because I really do have a belief there is something there, and there's good possibility that if aliens are here, they're going to put a base on the moon. Number one. I mean, that's a great place to hide. It's a great place to observe, and maybe the reason why we never went back to the moon. But this I saw posted is they say this is an alien city dome. I'll let you be the judge of that. I'll play it here.
It is often said that you cannot see the trees because of the forest. And what that says is there's so much to look at that you're not really focused on one thing. So we're gonna focus on different glass domes. There's quite a few here, but we're gonna look at two. They were the best shots that I've taken where I could actually get some detail out of it.
So they're saying this is the
here.
they're saying this here is the alien city on the moon.
Who took
alien? Right. They're saying this is secretly released from NASA. To me, it looks just like it's the contrast of the picture making a crater look more like a dome, like in reverse.
Right.
You can look at these and they almost look like that. So I saw this all over on some of these sites, UFO sites and stuff, and I'm like, oh, come on. You want credible? There are credible pictures out there from NASA of what I believe are bases on the moon. This isn't one of them. So I wanted to point that one out. Next story I got is, people are familiar with the Phoenix lights that happened. What was that? 1997. Here, I'm going to play that first. This is the original Phoenix lights on the most famous, more recent UFO sightings in U.S. history. Tons of people saw these. It caused a lot of outrage from people when they got kind of blown over, pushed away by the media, and joked about when the governor got on TV and posed with a guy dressed up in a gray alien outfit. But this was a big witness sighting. I mean, thousands of people saw this up in the sky, and it, to this day, really has not been explained. Well, there's been a lot more. Just this recent sighting in the valley is not the only one. There's been a lot more sightings recently in Phoenix. Something's going on at Phoenix again. Let me find the right one. This is what the story is about here. I think this video. I think this is the most recent one, February 19th. Let me see.
Phoenix is having the UFO Congress. They just had it in Phoenix.
Yeah, and that's what they mention about this, is that the U.S. Phoenix lights appear back over Arizona, 2016 UFO Congress in town. Right. Perfect timing, right? The aliens are coming to show up. So February 19th, 2016, 6:40 p.m., Phoenix, Arizona. Let me get the volume back on here.
Look at that, UFOs. This is over Phoenix right now, guys. Oh, darn. Oh, darn, I don't have a tripod.
Right.
Sorry, guys. This is live.
These weren't the only people. People took pictures of these. There's a number of witnesses to this. So it's not just one person posting this.
And above Phoenix. Oh, shoot.
Man, I'm sorry. I might move the camera a little bit when I have a camera, but I don't move that much. I mean,
yeah, this guy sucks, but I've seen the photos. I don't know what this guy's trying to do, but man, he's taking the worst UFO footage of all time. But it's interesting because there's a lot of witnesses to this. Now, it looks like flares to me. It doesn't look like what the Phoenix lights look like. But you'll see on my, if you go to my World Wide Web of Weird or Tonight Show playlist, you'll find, I'm not going to play all of them, but you'll find the other UFO sightings I just tagged that have been in the last month or two in Phoenix, and very similar. The Luke Air Force Base denied having any training exercises, so the Air Force didn't claim this one. So I don't know. It's Phoenix again. Something's going on. All right. So next thing I got here, I know it's World Wide Web of Weird. I thought maybe 40 minutes. No, we're already past 40 minutes. But I told you it's going to be a lot. There's a lot that I wanted to show, and I was kind of excited that my guest canceled. I hate to say that because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about tonight. This one came up on some of the Bigfoot pages just recently. Elk hunters encounter Bigfoot. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Kevin. Let me get the volume on that one going. This was in Idaho during 2013 elk season. But I've been seeing this one posted. I want to call shenanigans. I'll get your opinion on this.
What's the last GPS?
The last GPS was, I think, 4.6.
So we're 4.6 from the truck, and that's the closest road. I'm coming down here. I'm beat, get my gear off, get ready to eat. All of a sudden, Eric's like, oh my gosh, big bear, big bear. I grabbed my bow. I raised up. I looked down the hill, and it is the freaking tallest bear walking on two legs I've ever seen in my life. But the moment I realized, I'm like, I turned to get Eric to turn on the camera. He's already filming at that point.
Yeah, I didn't get pushed on play until,
but when did you realize it wasn't a bear?
When I realized it wasn't a bear, when we were sitting here and with the foliage and everything, the undergrowth here, it looked like a bear because all I seen was the brown coming through.
So these guys talk about it. I'm going to fast forward it to the actual what happens to them.
And at that point, I knew it wasn't a bear. Give me the camera. Oh. Eric, get out, get my bow, get out. Eric, come here. Where's my bow? Oh my god. I tripped. Oh my god, I tripped it out. What was that? I told you that wasn't a freaking bear. What was that? It wasn't a bear. Oh my god, listen. Shh. Listen. Oh, shit. I don't even know what that was. Did you get it on film? Yeah. I got it on film. I know I got it on film before you took the camera away from me. You ripped that camera out of my hand. I fell down, man. He was hopping. I tripped over and walked back on myself. That was not a bear, I'm telling you. That was not a freaking bear. What was it? No way. What was that? I've never seen anything. Where's the record on this thing? Where's the... Watch it. Where's the thing? Here. Let me see. When I got up and I caught that little glimpse right down there in that canyon, I could see him running, and that was running. It had to have been running at least 2 to 3 times faster than I can run, and I can run fast. But I've never seen anything run that fast in my life. Freaking awesome. That's awesome. So who knows? Maybe we'll get another shot at it. Yeah. Tim, big bear. Yeah. Big bear. I don't know what it was. I really don't. All right. I want to look at the footage one more time. Give me the camera.
It totally looks like a guy in a monkey suit to me.
It's not a Bigfoot.
No. But this is going viral pretty quick. It was back in 2013, but I noticed it was getting posted on a lot of the Bigfoot Facebook pages today.
What do you think?
The guy had even when it was happening, he had a smirk on his face.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And, when I talk to people who have these sightings, they don't have that. They're so serious about it because it's real, It's just like, oh, we just got a Bigfoot,
Hey, we got a call from your friend Scott. Hold on a sec. You there, Scott?
Yeah, I got up and I caught that little glimpse right down there.
Oh, you got to turn your YouTube feed off.
That was running. It had to have been running at least 2 times faster.
Just like the radio, you got to turn it off.
I've never seen anything run that fast in my life.
You there, Scott?
Yes. Freaking awesome. That's awesome.
You got your YouTube feed playing in the background. You got to shut it off.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. It's just like the radio.
That work?
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. All right.
How you doing, Scott?
All right. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, just calling in to offer my support, you know?
So, so do you see some of the footage we've been playing tonight?
Yeah.
So, what's your take? I know you're in. Give a little background on who you are, Scott.
Well, I'm been searching for the Lake Champlain monster for the last 24 years.
24 years? Wow.
It's 92, yeah. So my main thing is marine and freshwater cryptozoology. Lake and sea serpents.
What do you think about some of the sea serpent stuff that got debunked tonight? We were talking.
I had already debunked it before it got debunked on the internet. The minute I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's a deal."
Yeah, that's the reason I play these things, though, because I like to show the debunks on these because they go around the web so quickly.
Really, these news services are so desperate for copy. They do the general public a disservice by making a story out of a known animal that washes up dead. It's not really a story.
What do you think are some of the more credible ones when it comes to sea monsters?
What's that?
What do you think are some of the more credible videos out there?
Well, there are a few. There's one from Lake Champlain from 2005 called the Odette video.
Odette video. I'm writing that down.
That looks like these people filmed the plesiosaur's head and neck moving off the side of their boat.
Oh my God.
If you want to see it right now, the easiest way to find it is go on YouTube and punch up Lake Champlain Monster ABC News. Take you right to it.
All right. Champlain, CH.
CHAMPLAIN.
And you said ABC News?
Yep, Lake Champlain Monster ABC News.
Let's see if I can find it. See, this is great. World Wide Web of Weird, and I get somebody calling to give me some good footage.
Yeah, you got the top aquatic cryptozoologist on right now. And for anybody listening, if you're into lake monsters and stuff, Zombie Plesiosaur Society is a very
Facebook group. I was also on the debut episode of the television show Monster Quest.
So I need to get you on my show, like for an actual show.
Yep, ready. I'm supposed to do one a week from Wednesday on Monster X Radio. So any time around that, I can work you in whenever you want to have me on.
All right, Scott, we'll definitely talk about it. All right, so I think I got the video here. There's a couple of them. They all look like about it, but this one, it looks like the side of a boat here. I don't know if you can see the screen or not. Well, you got to pause. That's right. I'm pretty sure I got the right one here. Kevin, have you seen it before?
Me? I'll tell you when I see it.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up right now. This is possibly one of the best pieces of footage of Lake Champlain.
And it really does. It really looks like the head neck of a dinosaur or a giant eel, however you want to interpret it. It looks real. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've seen this before.
Oh yeah.
As big around as my thigh, I'd say.
It made my hair stand on end at the time. It just didn't fit anything, any kind of creature that I'd ever seen.
Now, these two guys are not crackpots. They've lived around Lake Champlain all their lives and were skeptical about the legend of Champ until they saw this mysterious wake. Unfortunately, their story is much more vivid than their video.
Boy, that looks like a serpent.
What we saw always stayed right on the surface, and parts of it would come above the water. The back, or the nose, or the head.
What in hell is that thing? But Champ is camera shy, and the fishermen say this is the best picture they could get.
I'm 100% sure of what we saw. I'm not 100% sure of what it was.
The tape is authentic. Two retired FBI analysts reviewed it for ABC News.
I can't find anything in there that would suggest or indicate to me that this has been fabricated or manipulated in any way. However, there's no place in there that I can actually see a animal or any other type of object on the surface.
Just an odd wake that for now merely adds to the further mystery of Champ, a legend that swims just below the surface and just out of camera range.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the best pieces
of
visual evidence there is for the creatures of Lake Champlain. That's in addition to the famous Sandra Manzi photograph from 1977.
I love that too.
Yeah, there's another good video from 2009. You want to see that one too?
2009. We'll save that. I don't get all into it because if I get you on the show, we'll look at some of these. That's the beauty of a video cast. We can go through some of these videos together.
Sure, absolutely. And I know where the bodies are buried.
You know about the severed feet too. All right. Well, thank you, Scott, for calling. Did you have anything else you wanted to add or talk about?
Oh, I just calling up to say hi, and Jen and Kevin are my friends, and I'm gonna sit back and let you guys do the rest and kind of just listen in.
Thank you for calling in, Scott.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. We'll definitely get you on the show. I so want to do a show on that.
Yep, I'm up for it. Thanks.
Oh,
Bye.
awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, we've had him on the show on Paraversal Universe twice. And honestly, I don't know any cryptozoologist that knows more about marine biology or marine cryptozoology or marine paleontology than that guy.
You know what? I just thought of something. Oh, he's calling back. Oh, no, he must have hit the wrong button. I just thought of something. This whole time, I feel awful. I never mentioned, I've had you on the show before, but we might have new people tonight. Is your show, Paraversal Universe, on Paranormal? Oh, God, I totally have it a brain fart. Ross Raposo's radio network, Paranormal King Radio Network.
Paranormal King Radio Network.
On Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central?
Yep, 5 p.m. Pacific. Friday night, it's from 7 till 9. And every week we have a different expert on various fields and disciplines of unexplained research.
Yeah, if you want to listen to some of the best guests, you guys get some awesome guests on your show, and you'll always learn something on your show. I don't know if you'll learn something on my show or not. Maybe not something important, but you have one of the most knowledgeable shows out there, in my opinion. You guys do so much good research, and you get such good guests. You ask such great questions that if I don't get to hear it on Friday nights, usually I have to work. I end up tuning into it later.
Thank you, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing, like I said, people, this is a long World Wide Web of Weird. We're almost done, and when we're done, if you want to call in, you can call in any time while we're talking. We're going to talk about summer wind here in just a little bit, but we got a couple more things I wanted to cover that I thought were really interesting. I know a lot of people have been seeing this going around the last couple of days. Is the Apollo 10 mission recently had some files declassified and audio of the astronauts getting weird music on the dark side of the moon, and it wasn't Pink Floyd, even though that would have been cool. So yeah, the Apollo 10, the crew of the Apollo mission to the moon were so startled when they encountered strange music like radio transmissions coming through their headsets. They didn't know whether or not to report it to NASA. It's been revealed. It was 1969, 2 months before the Apollo 11's historic first manned landing on the moon, when Apollo 10 entered the lunar orbit, which including traversing the far side of the moon when all spacecraft are out of radio contact with Earth for about an hour, and nobody on Earth can see or hear them. That would scare the crap out of me as an astronaut. And I'm sure for mission control. So far as public knew, everything about the mission went smoothly. Almost 4 decades went by before a lost recording emerged that revealed something unsettling that the 3 Apollo astronauts had experienced while flying above the far side of the moon. Let me see, I got that video, should be up here. All right, here we go.
That is easy to keep it sound outer spacey, doesn't it? You hear that whistling sound?
In their headsets, it sounded like a woo-woo kind of a noise.
Sounds like, outer space-time music.
I were to hear something back there, the first thing probably would freak me out.
Boy, that sure is weird music.
Over the course of an hour, they mentioned it multiple times.
So that's going to be coming up on a coming documentary coming out, I think, next month. They're going to talk about that. But, I love, anything from NASA, alien related. Is it alien related? I don't know. But they were picking up some weird transmissions on the dark side of the moon. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. That's interesting stuff on the dark side of the moon.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not really Pink Floyd?
I'd be like, oh, heck yeah, some chill music while we wait to cross over the dark side of the moon. And if I could play copyrighted music, I swear I'd have Dark Side of the Moon playing as part of my bumper music. A couple more articles. One last scene. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I wanted to mention a private group is launching a DIY satellite to hunt for UFOs. Of all the sources of images, potentially anomalous objects, video feeds from orbiting NASA spacecraft have provided a treasure trove of images of videos for UFO hunters. Ultimately, the data that comes from our space agency is also controlled and can be censored by said agencies, a fact that can potentially hinder civilian efforts to discover anomalous images. But what if someone were to bypass that middleman and gather data from orbit on their own? I always thought that, like, if I was a multi-billionaire and I could launch satellites, I would put a UFO hunting satellite up there. And that's what they're doing. There is indeed a group that plans to do just that, calling themselves CubeSat for disclosure. They are a team of researchers that plan to make use of CubeSat to search for evidence of UFOs from orbit. The CubeSat is a 10 centimeter, 4-inch cube-shaped miniature satellite for use by private individuals that can be placed as orbit as little as $20,000. Wow, I didn't know you could get it away with that cheap. The CubeSat can stay aloft for up to 3 months before dropping back to Earth. Hopefully it doesn't kill anybody. But it'll be interesting to see if they actually catch anything or find anything. For $20,000, you got to imagine it doesn't have a lot of great technical features on it. But it'll be interesting to see what they find.
Yeah.
All right, and then one last scene, and this one I'm going to hand off to Kevin if you got it ready. Here is the about the Antarctica pilot.
Let me call this up here.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm gonna let Kevin. He posted this on a couple different pages for the UFO. You're admin for what's the Facebook pages or when it concerns the UFOs?
I'm an admin in UFO and Alien Contact. It's a Facebook page. It's a discussion group. Ufology. Myself and some other ufologists are admins. We run it, and then also Lake Monstrosities, which is actually, Scott, you met Scott, cryptozoologist. He's one of the admins. It's a Facebook group. Myself, Jenifer, and Jeff Stens founded. It has to do with aquatic mysteries and everything that falls under that.
You're right.
Monsters, river monsters, USOs, haunted lighthouses, haunted ghost ships. Bizarre marine biology, Bermuda Triangle, on and on and on. So,
oh yeah, anyway,
this was posted in Lake Monstrosities, and it's called. This is on Seven Tails website, and here I'll just what I'll do is I'll just read this part here.
I say read the letter that he wrote. I think that's like the most telling.
It was like 2 paragraphs before the letter. To kind of
explain what he is. We can give a gist of it. Is he flew for the U.S. government, right?
Yeah. Brian's highest strangest experiences flying cargo and rescue in Antarctica were from 1983 to 1997 time period, and included several observations from aerial silver discs darting around over the trans-Antarctic mountains. He and his crew also saw ancient ruins, and a big hole in the ice about 5 to 10 miles from the geographic South Pole. That is supposed to be a no-fly zone. But during the emergency medevac situation, they entered the no-fly zone and saw what they were not supposed to see. An alleged entrance to a human and ET science research base created under the ice. Then at the camp near Marie Bird Land, some dozen scientists disappeared for 2 weeks. And when they reappeared, Brian's flight crew got the assignment to pick them up. Brian said they would not talk and their faces looked scared. So what he did was he wrote a letter to, Earth Files. And this is what it said. It's going to take me a couple minutes to read this, but it's really
it's interesting. So I wanted the audience to hear.
Yeah, it says, "Hi, Linda. I'm a retired U.S. Navy LC-130 flight engineer that retired after 20 years of service in 1997. I have been wanting to write for you for a long time about my experience in the Antarctic continent with flying vehicles that I was told not to talk about. I served my part of my 20 years in the Navy with the squadron called Antarctic Development Squadron 6, or VXE-6, as it was also known. I served with this squadron from around 1983 till I retired in March 1997. Being a flight engineer and flying more than 4,000 hours in the capacity, I have seen things that most people have not even imagined on the continent of Antarctica. The land there seemed more alien than earthly. Our deployments to this land started in late September and ended in February every year until the squadron was decommissioned in 1999. This time of year was the summer season when most of the science was done due to warmer temps and 24 hours of daylight. During my time with the squadron, I flew to almost every part of the Antarctic continent, including the South Pole, more than 300 times. McMurdo Station, which is 3.5 hours of flying time from the South Pole Station, was a point of squadron operation during our yearly deployments. Between these two stations is a mountain range called the Trans-Antarctic, with what we call the severe clear weather from McMurdo to South Pole. The Trans-Antarctic are visible from the altitudes which the aircraft flew, approximately 25,000 to 35,000 feet. On several flights to and from the South Pole, our crew viewed air vehicles darting around the tops of Trans-Antarctics almost exactly in the same spot every time we would fly by and view them. This is very unusual for air traffic down there due to the fact that the only aircraft flying on the continent were our squadron aircraft. Every aircraft knew where the other aircraft was and where the flight schedule being followed. Another unique issue with the South Pole Station is that our aircraft was not allowed to fly over certain and designated 5 miles from the station. The reason stated is because of air sampling camp in that area. Okay. This did not make any sense to any of us on the crew because of 2 different occasions we had to fly over this area. One time due to a medical evacuation of the Australian camp called Davis Camp. It was on the opposite side of the continent and we had to refuel at the South Pole, and a direct course to the Davis Camp was right over the air sampling station. The only thing we saw going over this camp was a very large hole going into the ice. You could fly one of our LC-130s into this thing. It was after this medevac mission where we were briefed by some spooks, intelligent agents I presumed, from Washington, D.C. and told not to speak of the area we flew over. The other time we got close to the air sampling camp, we had navigation and electronic failures of the aircraft and was told to immediately depart the area and report to our squadron commanding officer, where we returned to McMurdo. Needless to say, our pilot, aircraft commander, got his butt chewed out, and our crew was not on the South Pole supply run for over a month. There were many other times we saw things that were out of the ordinary. One outlanding camp near Mary Bird Land, we dropped scientists and their equipment at was out of communication with McMurdo for 2 weeks. Our crew flew back to the camp to find out if the scientists were okay. We found no one there and no sign of any foul play. The radio was working fine as we called McDurrow to verify if it was working properly. We left the camp and flew back to McDurrow as ordered by our CO. A week later, the scientists showed back up at the camp and called McDurrow for someone to pick them up. Our crew got the flight back there to pick them up since we put them into the camp and we knew the terrain and location. None of the scientists would talk to any of the crew on the plane, and they had looked scared. As soon as we landed back at McMurdo, the scientists were put on another squadron of aircraft and flown over the Christchurch, New Zealand. We never heard about them again. Their equipment that we brought back from the camp was put in quarantine and shipped back to the United States, escorted by the same spooks that debriefed us about our flight over the air camp, a large hole in the ice. I could go on and on about things and situations I observed during my tour with VXC6. Talk amongst the flight crew was that there's a UFO base at the South Pole, and some of the crew heard talk of some of the scientists working at the pole with EBEs, working with and interacting with the scientists at the air sampling camp. Ice hole. Brian, okay, that's the end of the letter.
Yeah.
Brian, let's see. There's only one more paragraph, I might as well finish this out.
Yeah, go.
Okay. Brian, now 59 years old, graduated from Iowa College with an associate's degree in aviation maintenance technology and aviation certificate. In 1977, he then enlisted in the U.S. Navy and served for 20 years until his retirement in 1997. He provided Earth files with DD-214 documents and other certificates of holding, including the Antarctic Service Medal given to him on November 20th, 1984 as proof of his time in service. There appears to be many hidden secret areas in Antarctica, and we were pretty much sharing different stories every month about the military personnel disclosing information about aliens in that part of the world. But what a great scheduled or secluded part of the world for the aliens to keep out of sight from prying eyes, or so they thought. So that's that.
Until Google Maps came along. No. You know, I once found something on Google Maps. I got to find it again that I still can't explain. I think it was in the Antarctic, and it was like this just rectangular, huge. It had to have to be, you know, a couple miles long, but it was like this, you know, this rectangular, like lighted thing in the Antarctic. I'm gonna have to find that one day. I showed it to my wife one day. I was just playing around on Google Maps. I'm like, what is that? And I looked online for anybody else had found it or said anything. Nobody did. And one day I got to find that and put it on the show. But, you know, we talked about the moon being a great place to hide out for aliens. Well, the Antarctic's another one.
You know, the hollow earth theory, the theory behind that is that there's a hole in the North Pole and the South Pole that go into the
hollow earth.
And both the North Pole and South Pole have no fly zones over the poles. And you can't get like 20 miles from it, I think it is, at least the North Pole. And they say that there are different water reservoirs that actually, at least in the North Pole, that flow into this giant hole. And that this hole, of course, UFOs flying out of, it's big enough. You go in there and there's a hollow earth and everything, all the creatures and all the, you know, all the stuff that, you know, that you can imagine is supposed to be down in there.
And we've heard stories about this for decades about, you know, the hollow earth, Antarctica, and the, you know, the hole in the earth, and, you know, what the famous admiral, his name slips my mind at the moment, who traveled there and saw aliens and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's so much out there on this. You know, how much is myth, how much is true? I don't know. It's always fascinating me. I'm not going to say I'm a devout believer that the earth is hollow and the aliens are living in it, but I know there's a lot of evidence to that. And I know there's a lot of people who believe that. And it's fascinating me. You know, I remember reading a James Bond novel once about the Nazis, you know, in the novel, or having a base in the Antarctic. And, you know, I'm like, you know, I don't know if the Nazis could hold out there, but the aliens could.
Right.
You know, so it makes you wonder, you know, what's there, and what would be the reason to have a no-fly zone there?
Well, that's the thing. There is really no good reason other than to keep people out, because they don't want them to see this giant hole, which they say not only Earth has, but like
other planets.
Other planets have it, and I've seen pictures of other planets where you see this ring thing on the top and the bottom of the Earth. We had a globe over here. I was gonna point to it, but anyways, yeah, Earth. You know, it's interesting stuff. There's a lot of tales from antiquity, and you know, that talk about the hollow Earth.
Yeah, and you know, if aliens are living there, you know, when are they going to get sick of our crap and come out of their hole and you know, just take us out? I always worry about, you know, and you know, all the sightings after, you know, 1947, after the nuclear, you know, after, you know, the first nuclear bomb in Hiroshima and all that, and then the proliferation of UFO sightings afterwards is like, did we wake them up? And they're like, what the hell are those Earthlings doing out on the surface? You know, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one more thing till we get to Summerwind here. This one's a funny one. This one's going viral fast. But the first person I saw post this, and you made me laugh my butt off, is Jenifer. You posted this first, and now it's like all over the place. Everybody's dying laughing. Even somebody posted the Paranormal Soup page. I'm like, I'm going to talk about this on the show. I don't know if this is real or not, but I almost hope it's not.
It was randomly on my timeline.
Really?
I was going, not my timeline, my news feed. As soon as I logged on, that's the first thing I saw.
So I'm going to read this so people can, you might not be able to read it off the screen, but this is the last thing we're going to get to Summerwind and then take phone calls. All right. For hire, ghost hunter. Hi, I am Michael, and I'm the foremost ghost hunter in this part of the town. I investigate any kind of paranormal activity and report back with my findings. It's like the X-Files, but without the drawback of having to explain my conclusions to a scientist. Here are some of my skills. 1, good at sensing presences of ghosts. 2, have my own Ouija board. I'm almost certain I once contacted John Lennon via this method. Number 3, he's good at climbing. Number 4, bravery, but also cautious. Number 5, in 2011, I solved the mystery of the haunted bus. If you don't know about it, look it up. I'm going to look that up, buddy. Look that up. If you want to avail of my services, please take one of my business cards below and get in touch. I know it says goat hunter, but this is a misprint. The lady in the shot misheard me when I said ghost hunter, and I can't afford to get all 250,000 cards replaced. Michael, goat hunter. It says goat hunter here on his business cards. Oh my God. I was dying laughing.
Is that even true? I mean,
I don't know. It could have been a really good joke by somebody. You know, it's going to have humor about this because there's so many people now that are ghost hunters. You know, I think we talked about this on one of the shows we did together about the awareness of the paranormal. You know, is because of all these shows, and now like there's just so many ghost hunters out there. Part of me like really hopes it's just a joke. I really, really do. And is he asking for money? Because he says for hire. Are people going to pay you?
Right.
Right. I think it's probably fake because he only puts Michael. You know, no last name or anything. You know, so.
Oh yeah, spoof, but it's so funny.
It's hilarious. It points out the hilarity of ghost hunting. You know.
I love the X-Files reference he threw in there.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to argue with scientists like Scully.
Right.
Have you guys been watching X-Files?
I used to when I was in my 20s, but I quit watching TV like 10 years ago.
Okay, well, when I thought of you when I watched the first episode of X-Files. You really need to see it. You really need to see it, Kevin, because they really get into the whole like world conspiracy agenda thing more than they ever have before. And in some ways, they really bring to light a lot of issues that we've talked about. And in other ways, they kind of point out the fact that it's a big money industry as well. the whole like Alex Jones and they kind of have Joe McHale is like an Alex Jones kind of figure, but how much money he's making off the conspiracy theorists and all that, and in a way, especially the right wing kind of side of the conspiracy theories, it's a huge money industry if you think about it, and they really point that out in X-Files. But they also point out there's a lot of crap our government's doing, so it's interesting. It's been funny too. So I've been a fan. I'm happy to see him back. All right. So we're going to talk about a little bit the last part of the show. And like I said, we can take calls into the show, but I want to, you guys have, being in Wisconsin, you guys, your group, Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. And what's the other group? The Fox Valley?
Fox Valley Ghost Hunters. They're out of Appleton. And they have a Green Bay branch too now. Just cover the Fox Valley. It's the Fox River. It goes between Green Bay and Appleton to the Lake Winnebago, which is the big lake in Wisconsin that you can see. When you look at a map of Wisconsin, you see a big lake in Wisconsin. So, anyways, yeah. So we're the two teams that are sponsoring the Summerwind Campout July and August.
And for a lot of people, there's a lot of people that know what Summerwind is because of shows like A Haunting, which they reran that Summerwind episode a billion times. But it's fascinating. It's one of the most creepiest paranormal stories about a house out there, and I think it's it's definitely to me one of the top 5 haunted houses in America that people know about. So you guys are going to have an event coming up for this, right?
Yes. Well, it's the Summerwind Restoration Society. Summerwind is no longer standing. It burnt down. The people who own it now want to, or thinking, about, rebuilding it and turning it into a bed and breakfast.
Right.
Now,
I'd book a room.
The thing is, we support that because right now, so many, it's so popular. I mean, this house has been on the cover of Time magazine. It's like considered by many the #1 haunted place in Wisconsin. And we've, just because it burnt down, that doesn't mean anything. We've gone out there. Our team investigated last year without a camera, without, just our team. And we set up cameras everywhere. We had, the whole investigation, and we were able to document paranormal activity there. In fact,
now, what's really left? It burnt down. Is there any kind of ruins left of the building?
There's you can see there's 2 chimneys still standing.
Okay.
Part of the basement you can still go into, which is enclosed. So if it's raining, you can actually, there's somewhere, and yet you can go in and you're kind of like inside. But you're not, it's just a small part of the basement. Since, throughout its whole history, there's been tales of activity. It's got, the different families who have owned it and experienced activity. Then you got the abandoned, span, which is the picture that you have up right now, where people used to go there all the time and do everything from party to occult stuff.
Yeah, we got a caller on the line. I'm going to take really quick, and we'll get back into Summerwind, and she might have a question on this. Hey, Rhodey, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've already stopped the YouTube. I have a question for the guest, and that they may have been asked this a lot, but my question is, because I read an article a little earlier, I did Googled your guest, and Kevin says it was a long time ago in Wisconsin, he saw that, he says for sure it wasn't a bear, it wasn't a person, that he thinks it was a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. But here's my question, because I'm open to being proven anything I'm open to it. But if they've been around for like decades, what is his explanation or reason that there haven't ever been remains or skeletons of these creatures found.
That's a rabbit hole to go down.
Uh-oh. Bad question?
No. It's a great question. We've talked about it before, but it's a big one. It's a big topic, actually, for Kevin.
Well, yeah, we can go off Summer Wind for a bit.
Yeah, we'll get back to Summer Wind here because it's probably the last half of the show. We're going to talk about Summer Wind quite a bit, actually. And I got a video I want to show. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, to answer this question, there are two camps in cryptozoology. You have the one camp which believes that Bigfoot is a species like Gigantopithecus or something similar that is just smart enough to evade us all the time. The other camp believes that the reason this creature has been able to evade us is because it has supernatural powers or abilities that humans don't possess. As a paranormal historian, I've been on the fence. As I guess as a crypto ufologist, I kind of feel that every year that goes by is to me is just a little bit more indication that this thing is supernatural. With all the drones we have,
right?
Trap cameras we have, all different kinds of trap cameras: ultraviolet, infrared, daytime, nighttime. We got there's shows like Finding Bigfoot. You have whole teams out there in every part of every state looking hard for this thing, and they still can't get decent, proof or footage. What are they getting? Well, a lot of these people that get trap cameras out there are getting anomalies on their trap cameras. The bait still goes missing. It seems to me like one of the few things both camps can agree on is that the Sasquatch they're going for the bait. Okay, because the bait goes missing. Sometimes the bait goes missing from piles or is hung up from tree limbs, and they can't explain it. One picture it's there, the next picture it's not. Or they'll get a picture of like weird, different like orbs or just different light anomalies, or even like that weird lightning looking phenomenon that sometimes people get in paranormal photos. Just strangeness. So I'm starting to lean towards the paracryptozoology.
Myself as well. I'm not an expert on it, but that's how I've felt about it too.
So I think the reason we're not finding bones is, there's the cryptozoology camp would say they probably buried their dead, which, if they're intelligent like us, they probably do.
Right.
Camp says, well, there's no need to bury their dead because they're here in this dimension sometimes, but they're multi-dimensional. They're like interdimensional. And that's why we can't find them when they're sleeping. I mean, you'd figure you'd be able to sneak up on one sooner or later. Someone would stumble across a sleeping Bigfoot leaning against a tree.
Right.
Never, you hear the story where I was walking and there's a Bigfoot. He's just like in a one of them beef jerky commercials where they show him sleeping. Right. I mean, we just
Slim Jim.
I've heard stories where Bigfoot's been pulled out of the ground, where he's disappeared. They'll find tracks that just disappear, like like a quarter mile of tracks, and then bam, nothing.
But I got a point on this. I've always thought about, even since I was a little kid, about Bigfoot is that, and this goes for dinosaurs too. If because I thought about this, is I had a cat that died, and I saw that cat in my bed after it died. It was a ghost. So if animals can be ghosts, okay, who's to say ancient creatures couldn't either?
And that's another theory.
Yeah. What if it's right?
Paracryptozoology, and I just wrote a short article. If anyone wants to go to there's a like page. It's called Paracryptozoology, and the top article is about just what you talked about. And in fact, Scott, the guest we had on the show earlier, turned me on to this information, and that was there are plesiosaur remains, bones, and vertebrae and stuff found on both sides of the loch. So for this, okay, either the animal it's an animal, the Loch Ness Monster is an animal, or it's a ghost of pre-existing dinosaurs, like you said.
Yeah.
Ghosts. People can be ghosts. People have seen horses that are ghosts. People have seen cats and dogs. well, why not, Neanderthals or Gigantopithecus and why not, dinosaurs? So, I don't think, if you can find the bones and you can prove that there was plesiosaurs there at one time in history, then both theories are plausible, that either it's a ghost of a plesiosaur or that it's a cryptid that is just extremely well hidden.
I'm still on the fence on it, and I definitely come more towards the paranormal aspect, but I'm still on the fence. I could still believe it's a cryptid. Is that a big enough rabbit hole for you, Rhodey?
Well, that was really good, and that was a very detailed answer, a lot to think about. Thank you. And what was, you just gave, to find an article, something cryptozoology. What was the first part of it? I want to look at it.
It's called Cryptozoology, one word, Paracryptozoology.
Okay, great. Well, listen, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Calling Rhodey.
Okay, bye, Jason.
Bye. Sorry, Rhodey always has really good questions, so as soon as I saw her calling in, I'm like, I gotta let her talk.
No, that was a really, really good question.
Yes. So I'm going to play this video real quick. We're going to get more into Summerwind. And anybody else you want to call in after this video, that's cool. But we want to talk a little bit about Summerwind here because I've always been fascinated with this story. And this kind of tells it a little bit here. This is from the Shatine YouTube. I don't know if this is an original video or not, but I thought this was a pretty good explanation of Summerwind. Maybe I'm wrong. Definitely Kevin might point out some things are wrong on this. I don't know.
The shores of West Bay Lake. It is reputed to be one of the most haunted locations.
All right, where you got something wet.
All right, that's not the real house.
No, it's not. That's a house in, used to be a school in New York, I believe.
Yeah.
I said it didn't look like it to me. From the pictures I say, I'm like, what is this? That's why I want to ask you first. But it tells the story a little bit. We'll see. Love these videos that do this. I mean, there's not many pictures of Summerwind out there, are there?
No.
No.
Yeah, not a lot. Summerwind is like a third or like a quarter of that size. It's like.
Is it this first picture? I'm gonna go back to this because I'm interested to know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that one is.
That's what I thought when I saw it. I'm like, that looks like it.
In the back side of Summerwind, if you go back to the schoolhouse picture you showed, if you can.
Yeah. I can.
Okay, you see them on the far left and 3 arches.
Yeah.
Okay. The back of Summerwind has got something very similar to that. There's 3 arches in the basement, but there, but it's I could see maybe that's why that fooled somebody because the arches look kind of similar, but that is not Summerwind. That's a different place.
This is why I love having you on the show. All right, I'm gonna play.
In Wisconsin. Due to abandonment, the elements and fire, little of the mansion currently remains standing. For a while it was popular with paranormal tourists. After remaining vacant for some time, the house became the residence of Arnold and Ginger Hinshaw and their 6 children, who moved in during the early 1970s. It is from this time onwards that most of the haunting reports originate. After taking up residence, the Hinshaw reported a number of strange occurrences, ranging from flickering shadows that appeared to move down the hallways and soft voices that stopped when they entered rooms, to unexplained electrical/mechanical problems and sash windows that raised themselves. They also reported seeing the ghost of an unknown woman who appeared several times in the vicinity of the house's dining room. The haunted ruins of Summerwind Mansion. Urban legend holds that after experiencing extended difficulties retaining workmen, the Hinshaw decided to renovate the house themselves. During these renovations, Arnold is said to have removed a shoe drawer from a fitted closet and to have discovered a hidden recess behind it. In that recess, Arnold discovered what he at first took to be the remains of an animal. However, because of the cramped entrance, he could not be certain of what he had seen. Later that day, he sent his daughter Mary into the recess to see what the unidentified object really was, only for Mary to discover a human skull and strands of black hair. No report of the find was ever made to the police, and the veracity of the legend has never been determined. The body was reported to have vanished when Ginger's father and brother investigated the recess, several years later. Despite protests from Ginger, In fall 1972, the mansion was acquired for Mrs. Kiefer by Ginger's father, businessman Raymond von Bauber, and her mother Marie, who intended to convert it into a restaurant and boarding house. The Baubers' attempts to renovate the house suffered from many of the same problems as the Hinshaws' attempt. Bauber's son Carl, who traveled to the house alone in order to arrange estimates and pest control work, also reported a variety of unnerving events, including voices and an apparent supernatural reenactment of the alleged 1930s Lamont incident. At this time, workmen also reported feeling uncomfortable and complained of missing tools and other happenings, including that when they attempted to draw blueprints, the dimensions of the house would change, with some rooms producing larger measurements on some days than on others. Photographs taken of the same location, on the same film, were also said to show a single room being several different sizes even if they were taken seconds apart, or to show furnishings that had been in the room when the Hinshaws had lived there, but which had since been removed. After experiencing several apparently supernatural incidents, and a number of conventional difficulties, Bauber abandoned his plans to convert Summerwind by 1979, at which point the land again reverted back to Mrs. Kiefer and instead applied for permission to operate a concession stand nearby, but his application was turned down due to problems with local ordinance. Bauber documented his experiences in Summerwind and published them in 1979 under the pseudonym of Wolfgang von Bauber. In June 1988, Summerwind was struck by lightning several times, resulting in a fire that destroyed much of the mansion. Today, only the house's chimney stacks, foundations and stone steps remain. After Wolfgang von Bauber relinquished the property, it was sold one more time, but again reverted back to Mrs. Kiefer. In 1986, by which time the mansion had fallen into disrepair, Summerwind was purchased from the estate of Mrs. Kiefer by a group of 3 investors. In June 1988, Summerwind was struck by lightning several times, resulting in a fire that destroyed much of the mansion. Today, only the house's chimney stacks, found.
Everybody's like, that woman's voice is like nails on a chalkboard. But I've always been interested in the story. They played it on a haunting. I'm gonna get the screen share off here. It's just something that always interested me. And now you guys have seen the a haunting, right?
Oh yeah,
yes.
I'm sure.
They still play that episode like more than any other episode in that whole show.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one the most out of all the hauntings. How true do you? Because I've seen some hauntings, and I've had people like the Sally House. Denise. I've had her on Pride More and talk about how much they got wrong with a haunting.
Yeah, they had like 1/4 of the pictures were wrong. Okay,
right.
Showing the house, but then they show that the stuff in the Hinshaw, the stuff she said about the Hinshaws, that comes from the Carver Effect, the book that she mentioned. The fire. There are 3 possibilities of the fire. The one that is stuck is it was hit by lightning several times, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were 2 other possibilities. One is that at this point, the town had become tired of Summerwind because it was, kids were going out there all the time and partying, and it was just, it wasn't getting rebuilt, and it was just causing problems. So one theory is that it was set afire, arson, just to stop the people from coming. But that didn't work because for the next 30 years, it's as many people go there now as did when the house was built. You can still walk around the ruins, and like I said, we've been there several times documenting activity.
I also think, I don't know, is it just my imagination, but it seems like a lot of haunted houses have ended by fire.
Yeah.
It seems to be a common outcome for haunted houses.
Now, the other theory is the one I heard first. I was in high school when it burned down, and I was a sophomore, and we used to party out there. And in high school, before I heard about it from the news or any adults, I had heard from the kids, the high schoolers, that I won't say his name.
Joey. No, don't.
The guy's in prison right now for armed robbery. But so he does fit the kind of person that would do something like. But yeah, that person. Oh, so and so burnt the house down last weekend at a party. Was the story I originally heard before I heard about lightning or anything else.
Right.
So what was it? Was it an accident from a kid? Or you just goofing off, or being macho, or just whatever, and lights the place on fire? Was it the town saying we're done with this, let's just torch it and be done with it? Or was it lightning? We'll never know for sure.
Well,
But yeah,
during one of the campouts last year, we were sitting there setting up, hanging around the campfire, and I had gotten up to go to the truck and get something. And I watched this little white van pull in, and they kind of park haphazardly. It's like 6 teenagers with 6-packs. And to try and be slick about it, they cut around through the neighbor's property to walk up the hill. So right when they got up around the corner, I'm like, can I help you? And they kind of just looked at each other. And I had told Kevin at this point, and the founder of Fox Valley, there were kids hanging around that just showed up in the property with beer. And I said, you can't drink here. And I said, did you come for the event? And I'm looking at them, and they're all kind of looking at me and looking at each other like, event? What's that about? And I said, well, you can either pay or you could leave. And they actually took their beer, they turned around, said sorry, and they cut to the neighbor's yard and left.
I mean, all the time, people constantly go out there. The county sheriff goes out there, drives, but it's down a back road, it's down a gravel road, down another gravel road, down a back road, down a county road, miles and miles and miles and miles from any town. I mean, this is Booneyville. For even the county cops go back there, it's a headache.
Right.
But they have to. They got to patrol it because, at any given time there are kids out there. Just hey, it's a haunted place you can go to, get spooked, get drunk.
I was a kid. I didn't get drunk, but I would go out to some of these places, and I've run into cops a few times. There was this one abandoned school out in I think it was near Crown Point, Indiana, and I'll never forget the cop that caught us there. We were like trying to devise a plan, like drop us off, you drive around and come pick us up when we're ready. We'll call you. And it still didn't work. The cop still caught us there. He was a really nice guy, but I remember him staring at this building like, yeah, you guys are going to have to go. And he just kept staring at it. And it was like absorbing all the moon, like the moon's bright as hell, but it was still pitch black, this building. And there's another place here in LaPorte County called Posey's Chapel. And the people who live there are sick of people coming to this graveyard for it. So yeah, people get, the residents get sick of it. Now, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, who's really going to know who's out there? But
when the house was originally there weren't houses on either side. But now there's a house on the right side on the lot on the right, and there's a house on the left. There's two. In other words, it used to be one big lot, but it was subdivided into 3 lots or however many. Yeah. So there are neighbors now. It's not like when I was in high school. There weren't people out there. There's guys on the left-hand side, but they're down the hill. Like it's not like you just look over and see their house. You can't see the neighbor's house on the left unless you go all the way to the driveway and kind of look. Then even then it's far away. And then the people on the right, you can see the house from Summerwind. They kind of built their. I don't know why they built as close as they could to what they did, and so again, if they're not happy with, if people are out there and the party gets too big, cops get called.
Oh yeah.
Just like Jenny said. They go out there, and sometimes the kids don't know exactly where it's at, and they end up pulling in the neighbor's driveway instead. Gotcha. And when the neighbor's like, fuck, not again, 911, you send a sheriff out here, there's kids out here again. So, and that's how we got involved with it, because Craig had approached us about it. Now, Craig went to high school in the same high school I did. Craig is the founder of Fox Valley Ghost Hunters. So I've known him for a long time. And he's like, we want to, we got the original blueprints of Summerwind.
Wow.
We want to rebuild it into a bed and breakfast. And our position was that would be excellent because that would stop the trespassing. It's still ruins and people can still get hurt out there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you know, to see it built again with the original blueprints, and knowing that the activity hasn't left, you know, to me, to the society just seemed like a win-win kind of thing. There was a win for the people who own the place. There was a win for the community, and it was a win for us as historians who would just, you know, again, you know, if they want to build it with the original blueprints in the same spot,
that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So we were like, yeah, we're on board, you know. And it was, you know, we have a primary coverage area, and Summerwind is in that area. So, you know.
Well, one of the questions from the chat room, again from Rhodey, she asked us what kind of investigations have been done out there.
Well, Craig has done a couple, or the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters have done a couple, I know. We've done one, where we went out there with the team, the cameras, nobody else, and spent the entire night out there. That's the night where we got a shadow person coming down the hill. We were in the basement doing an EVP session. There was 3 of us, or 3 people in the basement, and me with the camera. 4 people in the basement, and we had a 5-people crew. The last guy was at the Nerve Center, which is like way far away, way on the other side, watching the cameras. So they're standing still, doing the quiet thing, the quiet contest, while everyone's doing their EVPs, you know, and I'm standing there, and I'm just kind of like panning around, and so I pan out of one of the arches, and I see this right on the camera, what looks to me like smoke, like, you know, like black smoke. And I go, is anybody smoking? And I was like, no.
Better not be on an investigation.
Right. And it's like, no. I'm like, well, I just got the coolest effing thing because it looks like black smoke. And then it happened again. Well, when we got home, and I'm all excited, like, you know, and check this out, we put it on the big screen, and you can see that it was a figure, like a shape of a person that had walked down the hill. And then when I had noticed it and said something, it had walked back up the hill. Well, we had looked at all the other cameras to make sure that nobody had snuck on the property and was casting shadow somehow, or nope. Rick was at a spot watching the cameras. We even had a camera on Rick on the Nerve Center, you know, so it was accounted for.
Yeah.
There's no explanation for that shadow whatsoever.
And it was breezy. No, actually, it was kind of warm that night. So, and if it were a person, they would have walked on the grass and the twigs, and we would have heard them when that went by. But there was nothing, no sound.
The shadow where it was, the grass is about, it's not terribly high, but probably like to mid-thigh, you know. So it would have been like crunch, you know, whatever kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, you could see it clearly go down and then come back up. And we had talked, next time you come on your show when we get all our evidence.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. This was last minute to get you guys on here, but yeah, we're going to have a show with you guys eventually, just, you know, with your guys' evidence.
And then you'll see that. But anyways, and then there was another time, or the first time I had gone back since high school, we had gotten, I remember going back, and this was for the first, I think it was for the first camp out, and everybody had left, and it was just me and an investigator for my crew and 2 of Fox Valley's, the Craig and his lead investigator. And I'm thinking, well, you know, I've been here as a high schooler, and to me, ghosts were cool, but I wasn't, you know, an investigator.
Right.
And I wasn't looking for it. I was there to drink and you know, maybe pick up a chick or whatever, you know.
What a high schooler should be doing.
Exactly. And so I'm thinking, well, this place is kind of benign, probably, you know. I mean, come on, it's abandoned, and started taking pictures, and we got the classic orbs, not the dust orbs, not the water orbs, but the orbs that create their own light and have a tail or trail.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like when you see it, you say, okay, that could be a spirit, or opposed to, oh, that's just dust or whatever. And I thought, well, shit, you know, I just don't get that everywhere. And I'll throw out orbs unless they're really exceptionally large and colorful.
Right.
Or if they have a tail and trail and they're really bright, making their own light.
And their own flight path.
Right. And so Summerwind produced that. And I'm like, well, maybe maybe it is still haunted. And then we went back. We were there. This is really cool because there's another experience where I'm thinking, okay, up until the point this happened, I had kind of like, to me, the Ovilus is like, okay, whatever. Okay.
The Ovilus? Demon.
Right. Come on, Ovilus, right? So, okay, well, and I support ITC research,
Yeah.
But it's got to be really, it's got to be really clear, and it's got to be, there's certain there's criteria. And so what happened was it was at the camp out, and another team had shown up from Beloit, and they were in the basement doing a dowsing session with the dowsing rods, and Ovilus. They had an Ovilus. So they had the Ovilus running while they're doing the dowsing session. Yes and no, and the things would cross or whatever. And me and Jenny come down. I come down with my camera. So I got all this on camera. It's really cool. So I come down with a Hi8. I'm filming, and Jenny stands next. There's like 3 girls, I think. And, we're filming them for a couple minutes, and they're asking questions with the rods and stuff. And the Ovilus isn't making any noise. Didn't say anything. I didn't even know it was on. And, when I first came down there, because I wasn't talking. And then Jenny's like, oh, Ovilus. She goes, can I try that? And they're like, sure, here. And they hand it to her, and she's looking at it. She's like, I can't see. I'm like, oh. And at this point, it was just horizon. It was just dusk. Like, it was just getting dark. And so before we went down to where the property is, start filming, investigating, whatever, I put on a headlight, And so when Jenny said, I can't see, I turn on my headlight, and it's green. Go green, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right after I turned it on, across the Ovilus, it says green. Okay. Like,
right.
Holy shit. I'm like, wow, it just said green. And then it said Angel, and then it said Jenifer, all within like 3 minutes. And the green, I'm like, click, green. I'm like, wow. To me, okay, that is just beyond coincidence.
Yeah.
You could have picked any color, you could have picked any word at any time. Why would it say green the second I turn my green light on for the first time of the night? And then to say Angel, which is like, okay, now it's talking. And then say Jenifer, and who's holding it? Jenifer. Well, I also believe with ITC that you need a human component. There needs to be the human factor. Just like dowsing rods. You got to have the human factor. If you take it out, the rods won't work. Same thing, I think, with IDC. I think Bocci proved that. In Italy, the old man Bocci who used to. So
the medium with the radios that he takes all the tubes out, and he's still getting voices coming through. It's amazing.
So I'm thinking, well, Jenny's holding the Ovilus. We know Jenny's got abilities. Now the Ovilus is, and from that point on, I thought, well, there could be something to the Ovilus, because the odds of it doing that, saying that, at that exact moment, it's gonna be like 1 in a million or something. I mean, it's just retarded. I of course I haven't done the actual calculation, but right, I mean, it didn't say goth, it didn't say demon, it said green. I'm like, wow, I just turned on a green light. I mean, that's just like,
I've seen on the shows, I've seen some evidence of the Ovilus. I think is credible. At times, and I've had it on investigations, in groups I've been with, and I've had some interesting results. But I've always, I always go back to like the paranormal state and how many times it would be like demon.
I'm like, demon. Yeah.
But it's very interesting. And just so anybody know, we got 7 minutes left. If you want, we're just talking towards the end. If you want to get any last questions or anything you want to add, just go ahead and call in on the Skype line. But I'm thinking you guys are going to have, this is going to be what, July 13th?
I know it's August 13th.
There's an August 13th and there's a July date. Maybe it's July 16th.
July 16th.
I think it is the 16th.
Yeah, you can. This is going. It's you guys are getting a lot of hits with this one. It's going viral fast. It's you can go to a camp out basically, right, and get to investigate the property of Summerwind.
Yeah, what it is obviously if you go to Summerwind, you risk getting nabbed by the police for trespassing, and they're there. They patrol it because they know how popular it is. The owners are friends with Fox Valley and us, and they let us, of course, it's for the fundraising. We're not going to raise enough funds to build a house with this, obviously.
No.
What it does is it attracts attention. The camp out is like, we do raise some funds. They're sitting in a bank somewhere right now, and we're not, the societies are not taking all the money from this. Okay. No money has gone to the societies, any societies. Okay. And if it does happen, if any kickbacks were to happen, it would be for any funding or anything as far as just running the event. But basically, they're trying to find an investor that will go in on it and make it happen.
If I win the lotto, if I had money to play, but yeah, if I win the lotto, I'd be right there building it for you guys.
Everybody to come out on the property legally. To paranormal professional teams, and we basically do everything except EVP sessions. And the reason we don't do EVP sessions is there's so much contamination.
Yeah, outdoor EVP is. I mean, I've gotten some EVPs outdoor that clearly came through. You can decipher it, but they're rare and they're hard because there's just so much insect noise and just so much contamination factors with outside.
Right. But everything else, I mean, like I said, you have all your ITC and the dowsing rods and cameras and
what's nice about the events is local people come out who have never been there like every year, and they'll bring photos, they'll share their accounts and what they've experienced, and we have like a whole fire going around the camp. The fire pit the whole entire night. People cook out at some point. We investigate from whatever time we cook, and anybody has up until the sun comes up the next day to investigate with us.
Actually, do you have to be off at a certain time?
No, this is my own show. So the only person you have to deal with is my wife, who's waiting on me. But it's not a big deal. The last time, I don't know if it was the first time I had you guys on or the second time, and we went way over. Like we went a half an hour. I got my ass chewed big time. So we don't want to go over too much, but a few minutes, it is not a problem. Yeah, if you want to look it up and get the information for people.
Well, I just got a call from the founder of Fox Valley. He just called while we're here, and
he's there.
Hey, Craig, you there? Hello. Craig? Are you there? Yeah. We're on the radio right now. We got you on speakerphone.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear it at all?
I can hear him. It's hard, but I can hear him.
Is there anything you'd like to tell anybody about Summerwind as far as details? Anything at all?
Just that the July event is booked solid now. There's no more room till we only got August.
Not surprised.
Okay, well, that's the latest.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Well, we thought that if we do, if July gets booked and August gets booked, and there's still people that want to do it, we do a September one. If that gets booked, I mean, do you do a June? We don't know. It's just kind of go with the flow. But like I said, like a couple years ago, this went viral on us. Whereas I don't know, just one post and bam, it goes all over the country. Everyone starts tagging their friends and sharing it. There's like over 1,000 people, over 1,000 invites on this in 2 days, and we didn't invite anybody. That's everybody.
Last time I checked, you were at like 1,700 invites.
Right. I mean, it's just nuts. And like I said, we didn't invite any friends. that's people tagging 1,700 people tagging each other in 2 days off of one article that came out on your what's that? I don't remember the link, but there's an article about Summerwind.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, well, we weren't going to make the event pages yet either. But since this came out and since so much attention, it's like, well, why don't we do the event page now so people can, go. So yeah.
Well, I want to try to make one of those dates. I'm talking to my wife about it because that's one of the top places we've always wanted to go visit. And it's not a surprise to me how popular it's gotten so quickly because, like I said, it's A Haunting is rerun that episode. I don't know how many times so many people have seen and heard about Summerwind that it's no shock to me that you're going to sell out quick.
Yeah, it's
Can we mention how much it is for at least the August one?
Same price per person.
$30 per person.
Yeah, which is, to me, that's, compared to other paranormal events, that's extremely cheap.
Yeah, it's affordable, super affordable. There's no reason not to come out and have a good time and see a historic place and experience some paranormal activity, hopefully.
Yeah, to me, like I said, to me, it's in my top 5 places I've always wanted to go. And $30 is nothing. Like there's places I want to go. I'm like, I can't afford $500 or $300, to go to some places I would love to go. But I love paranormal, but I got a budget, So to me, that's a super, super awesome price to be able to do that.
Right. That we can afford the gas and the cookout and, because everyone's got to bring their own little grill, bring everything you would bring if you're going to camp out, if you're planning on camping out. And if you just want to come out for the day, once it gets dark, if you're not paid for the overnight, then at that point you would leave. And I think there's a different price for that. Is there anything else you can think of?
Well, I probably should go because I know my wife's waiting on me. So probably should roll the music. Thank you guys so much for coming on this last minute. Like I said, I have a lot of friends I've made doing this the last 7 or 8 months, but I really, value you guys' friendship and having you on the show. Like, if I could have my way, I'd have you on every night because I could talk to you on so many different subjects for forever. And I discovered that the first time we ever Skyped each other and just talked before we did a show. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are awesome. You're so knowledgeable in so many different areas. Jen, being a medium, a demonologist, the stuff that alone is crazy. And Kevin, I mean, you're a plethora of knowledge when it comes to UFO, sea monsters, and conspiracy theories. You bring up a topic, I'm sure you have something to say about it. So that's why I love having you guys on. Now we're going to have a show in April, and I think it's April 10th, but I might be wrong, is we're going to do a cryptozoology show, and you guys are going to co-host that with me.
Yes, and that's going to be with Scott Mardis, cryptozoologist who was on earlier today, and Jeff Stewart, another cryptozoologist who's been on TV, on all the shows, and he's from Texas. So, you're going to have 2 very well-known, very well-respected cryptozoologists who analyze. Plus, and then you got Jenny, demonologist, and myself, Kevin, Mr. Ufologist. So, yeah, man, you'll have it totally covered.
Yeah, we'll cover the whole range of cryptozoology and maybe get a little bit into the paracryptozoology too, as controversial as that can get with cryptozoologists. But I've been wanting to do a crypto show for a long time. So, and I want to get Scott on a separate show just to talk about lake monsters because that's a whole wide subject as it is. So I'm excited and thank you guys for helping me out with that.
Oh, absolutely.
You're welcome, and thank you for your friendship, and thank you for having us on because we always enjoy it when we're on.
Yes.
Well, thank you. All right, next week, guys, we're going to have SOPA, if I'm saying it right. They're from that Alaska, or Haunted Alaska, I believe it is. I was on their one of the people on that show, their radio show last week. We're going to have them on, talk about hauntings in Alaska. It's in Fairbanks, Alaska, if I remember right. So it should be an interesting show. And after that, we got a lot more shows coming up. I'm going to start getting the flyers up on the website. Remember, go to mwpparanormalsoup.com. I'll start putting up I'm going to also have a list of all the previous shows on there and upcoming shows when I get time to work on it. So I'll see you guys next week, 10 p.m. to midnight. And ITC Collective probably won't be back still. That show won't be back until a couple months. I got to have a date to do that. We'll do some live ITC experiments. It's going to happen. It's just taking a break from it for right now. All right, guys. I will see you next week. Thank you, Kevin and Jen. I will talk to you guys later.
Good night.
Away where silence over day, just no witness where the when comes a still one and no longer will. Never found my blue
I always love having Kevin and Jen on. Like I said, two of my favorite guests to have on because, man, we can cover any subject with the paranormal, go down that rabbit hole. Thanks to everybody who called in tonight. Thank you, Rhodey. Thank you to Scott Merdice for calling in. And remember, guys, don't ever be shy about calling in anytime. When I say you can call in, go for it. I love having people come in with their great questions. I will see you next week, 10 p.m. to midnight, and we'll have another good World Wide Web of Weird. See you then.